Good morning, guys. Welcome to my Monday morning rant for Monday, the 19th of September, 2022. So, last week I made a video about being banned on Instagram, and this last week I had my Patreon account suspended. So, it's been a pretty crazy couple of weeks in regards to actually feeling something, having some sort of big negative, ugly thing to deal with. And I've surprisingly handled it really well. Like, I surprised myself. Um, I think the old me or the younger me would have absolutely lost their shit by now. All of that ego and all of that value that I place on getting my work out there and social media. Um, in the past, I think it was just so much more important to me than it is now. Um, and don't get me wrong, I've still been down about it. I feel it feels a lot like being bullied in high school. Um, it's like I'm trying to convince the world that I'm okay and what I do is fine and you should be fine with it. It's like it's like breaking the law, right? And being against the grain and just doing things differently. And I've always felt that. And I mean, it's why I've got not safe for work tattooed on my knuckles. It's just like I just feel like I've been placed in this box where I'm not to be trusted. And uh, I'm not allowed to freely publish what I like because it could hurt people. And man, I really am not out there to hurt anybody. So again, with Instagram, I'm totally okay with it. I understand. Yes, there are young kids on that platform using the platform, and some of my stuff is uh, probably not, yeah, not safe for work and should not be viewed by young children. So yeah, totally cool with Instagram. I am still upset about the double standards. Um, and I'm seeing photographers and celebrities and stuff get away with posting stuff that was way against their guidelines and way worse, and pushing it much more than I did and getting away with it. But hey, that's life, right? And so with Patreon, what I haven't spoken about at all on socials in trying to explain what happened here. I was just browsing the net and I found a website that was uh, scraping. That's what the term is. I think they call it scraping. And it was scraping content behind paywalls. And it was scraping artists, which is super low in my opinion. And they were scraping Patreon. And turns out there I was, Justin Fox, photography, and they were scraping all my content in the lower $5 US tier. And it really shocked me when I saw it. And I was really upset that someone would try to rip me off. The same feeling that I got in Zen Garage when some kids would come into the shop or at the meets and try to steal our clothes. It's like, fucking really? Like, you seriously gonna rob us? And I felt that, and I felt really angry and upset about it. So, without too much thinking, I decided to send them a DMCA, a legal notice, And I put my identity on the line to do that because to send them a legal notice, I had to put my full name, address, and all my details. And so I sent them a notice of takedown and take that fucking shit down, you know? And you wouldn't believe it, but 2 days later, I get an email from Patreon to say my account's been suspended. So, again, I don't want to get all paranoid about it. I have no proof that that these guys who were stealing my content, these trolls, beat me at my own game in reporting me to Patreon. And Patreon then had a look at my account and saw some stuff that they didn't like and decided to suspend it. So, same as what happened to me in 2019, I got suspended back then as well. And back then I was dealing with a guy called Abel. And this time around, I got a message from the same guy, Abel. And I started to think maybe their safety, trust and safety team is just always sent from a person called Abel. I thought it was a branding thing, perhaps. But anyway, same guy. And he said that Patreon does not allow pornography, even though quite clearly the guidelines read that pornography is more about real people engaged in sexual acts like intercourse and masturbation, and none of the, I don't do any of that stuff. I don't create any of that content. But he linked me to a few photos that he thought fall under pornography. And yeah, it's completely arguable, right? They allow complete nudity, but it's almost as if the nudity has to be just dead front on, because I'm always angle hunting. And what I've been posting on my socials for many years now are very in situ, in the moment shots, and quite intimate as well. Point of view, and yeah, it's arguable. So I went on a humongous mission to go through photos dating back to 2018. I mean, there's over like 3,000 or 4,000 photos on there. I post on my Patreon every single day, right? So the interface was shit. It kept thinking I was a robot because I was spending so much time on Patreon deleting stuff. And I was on it from like 6 in the morning till 7, 8 at night. For 2 days in a row, I put in serious hours into going through every single post and photo on my Patreon all the way back to 2018 and just deleting a shit ton of posts and a shit ton of photos that I thought might be breaking their guidelines based on the photos that he sent me, which he thought was pornography. And there's the whole time I'm just thinking, man, I'm at two halves. One is I make $2,000 a month off my Patreon, which is great income for me. It is the bulk of my income. And like Instagram, I thought maybe it's just time to play by their rules. Maybe the people who support me will support me no matter what, even if I have to delete a shit ton of these photos and not post anything so intimate or anywhere near erotic. So I put the work in, and sent Abel a message to say it's all done. Go through it again, and no response. And I started to get really worried that ultimately they just don't want me on their platform, and that they were going to shut it down. Just their silence was like suggesting that maybe it's over. So I tried one more time. I sent a ticket through the website instead, through their support ticket system. And amazingly, I got a response from someone called Mona. who said that Abel is out of the office. So kind of fucked me off that is out of the office, and that's why I hadn't received a response for a few days. Um, I mean, to add to the mess, the messaging system was completely broken too. Despite being suspended, you're meant to be able to message and receive messages from your patrons so that you can let them know what's going on with your suspension. And yeah, the messaging system wasn't working. I had patrons message me to say they could receive my messages but could not reply. So I've been busy trying to refund people for the month, just because I feel bad about my account not being online for a few days or a week. Um. Anyway, so this Mona lady got back to me and said she'll be looking after this issue now, and she said she reviewed my Patreon after I had deleted hundreds of photos, and she said that unfortunately she still found pornography. And so I sent her some photos to ask, like, I just need to know, do you consider this pornography? And I sent through a whole bunch of photos from my latest shoot with one of my latest shoots with Anna Moon from Melbourne, and they're quite erotic, in my opinion, quite erotic, sexually charged, point of view style photos, but she's wearing lingerie. And she said, no, Patreon would not consider those photos pornographic, and that they're totally okay for the platform. And to add to that, which was a relief to me because it's primarily what I do. But then to add to that, she thought she'd send me 3 examples of what she considered pornography from my Patreon. And one shot I could understand, it was an art nude, and it was not a shot of someone's genitals in focus, but I think it was a completely artistic shot, but her genitals were in the shot, and they were it wasn't zoomed in, but it wasn't completely zoomed out either. So I okay, I get it. They allow nudity, but they're not allowing that. It's a bit confusing, but okay, fair call. The second shot she sent through was another one of my point of view shots where my model's eyes are completely in focus, but her genitals were not in focus. And I do this a lot because I shoot at 1.4. So I've got a lot of depth of field, and I like to shoot these shots where you can just make out that they are her genitals, but it's so fucking blurry because the only thing in focus is her eyes. And I love that play. I like that tease of, you want to see the other thing in focus, but too bad, I'm looking at you. You know, I find it really empowering, and I find it really fun to do. It's really become my style over the years. And so I was really upset about that particular shot being considered as pornography. I mean, I almost consider it safe for Instagram because you really can't make anything out in the shot except for her eyes. But yeah, that was upsetting. And then the third example was really upsetting because it was just a full frame shot of a girl nude from behind. She was not touching herself. She's not spreading anything, and nothing against their guidelines to say to suggest what pornography is. And that one really, really threw me off because they've always allowed nudity. Patreon has always been okay with nudity, and this was just a snapshot of a model from behind, and the angle wasn't dead on. It wasn't dead on front. It was I was slightly lower. I might have been like kneeling down a little bit to take the shot. But again, it's her eyes that are in focus, and it's her eyes looking down at me slightly. And man, I have a lot of shots like that up there, and if that was considered pornography, then I'm royally fucked. So at that point, I decided to call it quits with Patreon. It's really sad because I do like the platform in regards to the concept of them supporting artists. But what's super sad about it is that the people on the trust and safety team, you're at the peril of who those people are. And what's sad about it is that they do not see, and it's not their job to see the artistic merit in the work. And that's what I've gotten. That's what I've gotten from Patreon is I I could argue till I was blue in the face about how something is art, but they cannot see the merit, the artistic merit in a piece. It's not their job to do that. It's just their job to adhere to the guidelines, which are really vague. And if the guideline was so strict about, no intercourse, no masturbation, no penetration, none of that, I don't have any of that on my Patreon. So again, it feels like a conspiracy. It feels like being bullied. It's down to the person I'm dealing with. I'm not saying that they're power tripping. It's just my luck. And unfortunately, I'm dealing with someone who cannot see the artistic merit in what I do. And what's worse is that they've sent me 3 examples of what they consider pornography, which I completely disagree with. It is not porn, man. You look up anything, like go up to Google and type in pornography, and that's porn. What you see when you go to Pornhub or whatever, or these pornography, that's porn. What I shoot is boudoir. It is not. It's more like portrait photography than anything else. So yeah, I'm making the move to Deviant Art. Deviant Art I've been on for a while now, and it's more like a gallery. So the way it works is more visual than Patreon. I think Patreon's more about subscribing and having your fans, I suppose, in a tight sort of little environment where you can share your work with them. But Deviant Art is more about creating galleries and big impact, big screen, high res, and I've signed up for a year, and I've paid for an account so that I can charge subscription and access to photos, and I can do a whole lot more. I can actually upload complete photo sets and have them as downloadable zip files. So for the people who are subscribed to me, it's very easy for them to download the entire photo set with one click of a button and to get all the high-res photos in a folder, as opposed to using Patreon's interface, which is really slow and cumbersome, and they would have to manually right-click on photos to save them if that's what they wanted to do. The only problem is DeviantArt has a whole lot of pornography on it, and it's not allowed on there. Again, they don't allow intercourse and penetration and masturbation, all of that stuff. Same thing as Patreon, same guidelines, but way more lenient, and they have a whole lot more illustrators on there than photographers, but they allow both. And yeah, there's a situation with DeviantArt where it's just gotten so big, and so many people upload work that isn't their own, and so many people upload pornography up there that I think they don't have enough staff to deal with it. They don't have the technology to recognize it. And my concern is that the platform is dying because the team, their safety team, isn't working hard enough, and they can't police it well enough. And that's a really, it's a big concern for me. And there's a lot of really amateur work there. I mean, I love a lot of the illustrators are absolutely unreal. But in regards to photography, if you search for boudoir on there, man, there are a lot of really really bad photographers on there, and I'm in the mix with them now, and um, the platform doesn't feel as respectable, in my opinion, as Patreon. I think saying out loud to support me on Patreon sounds more professional to me than subscribe to my DeviantArt. Um, but hey, I'm a deviant, right? And I'm an artist, and who knows, it might work for me. I've had out of the 50 patrons that I had, I've already had 3 move over, and I really appreciate their help. One of them has helped me with testing a few things and seeing how things work on his side. Um, so yeah, deviant art going forwards. Um, and you know what? It's been great in some ways to be working so hard at something again. I haven't spent so many hours in a day working on stuff to a point where I haven't even got time to game. And that's been really refreshing. And I'm into a bit of a role with that now. I have been working super hard on getting my DeviantArt account online and understanding the back end and how things work and trial and error. And it's also nice to be able to start from scratch with something again, to have a clean slate and go through photos that I've taken for Patreon for the last few years and figure out how I'm going to get that back online, and promoting my deviant art, and that's gotten me into some trouble too. I've written a few pieces on goodbye Patreon, hello DeviantArt, and I've posted them on Reddit and stuff, and copped a bit of hate. It's just the way Reddit is. I've had people say that say all sorts of shit, and again, sometimes I wonder why I do it. But hey, you got to be in it. It's just you got to promote. I got to promote it if I want to try to get my income back. I'm gonna have to promote it. So I've already had some people say that, oh, you're posting lewds, and DeviantArt doesn't allow any of that either. And I've had to literally copy and paste DeviantArt's policy into some of these threads to say you're wrong. DeviantArt completely allows this, what I do. And I've even had a post that I made on the DeviantArt Reddit subreddit just deleted from nowhere. It's not deleted; it's still there, but you can't interact with it anymore. So they've just frozen it. I don't know why, because a whole lot of people were starting to, I don't know, have a go at me for stuff, and I was just posting the DeviantArt policies to say, well, this is what the policy says, and then people were saying, well, you're not, maybe you should read the policy. I'm like, fuck, I just posted the policy. So, again, conspiracy and just shitty feelings, but comes with it. It just comes with it, and there's nothing much I can do about that. In other news, I went and saw my doctor, Dr. Mark Arya, who has been a family doctor forever, and he saved my life when I was going through depression and all of that. He's the one who put me onto therapy and all of that, and antidepressants, and it's good to see him, and it's good to have a little. I was in there to check my eyes out. My left eye is still completely bung, and everything out of my left eye is pretty blurry. So he took a swab, and he's gonna call me today sometime. Uh, and I don't use my phone, and if I get a number that is unrecognized, it's on silent. So I'm gonna get him to call my mum, which is pretty funny. Um, and and yeah, just had a little chat with him about life, and asked him about how he's still a doctor after all these years, since the 90s or whatever. And he's really simple about it. He just loves what he does. He loves being a doctor. He loves helping people. He gets a lot of enjoyment out of it. And he also loves golf and tennis. And he is so glad that he works so hard that he can't play golf every day, and that he can't play tennis every day. And he thinks the balance is perfect for him, that he can only squeeze in one golf session a week and one tennis session a week, and that's plenty. And the rest of the time he's a doctor, and he wakes up at 5 every morning. He lives quite far from Maroubra, actually, and he beats the traffic every day. It only takes him 25 minutes to get there, whereas in traffic it would take him an hour 25. And seems like he's got it really figured out, and it's just nice to hear. It was it's a good catch up with my doctor. Um, and in other news, I inspected an apartment in Coogee Beach that my sister found, and my sister's on it, man. She's found a few apartments for me to check out already, and they're so close. This one that I checked out in Coogee Beach was super close to the water. I'd say as close as I am now to the water in Maroubra Beach. And when I first saw the apartment from the outside, I just thought, I said, wow, like it looked amazing. It's not like an apartment with like hundreds of people in it. It only had 10 people per block. So it looked like a house. This apartment that I was checking out was on the bottom floor, and it's kind of back to front. The patio's out the front, and the back of the house is actually it's back to front. The entrance is all the way down the inside, and it was quirky, and it had heaps of light. It was so close to what I was looking for. It had a bit of an open space, open plan sort of living area. Had really small, tiny bedrooms, and I instantly thought of knocking a wall down, which is probably impossible with strata and stuff in an apartment. I'd probably just have to live with it the way it was. Yeah, I don't know. It was just so close, and they were asking way too much. I was looking for something that would be a fourth or a third of what my house is worth, but this is half of what my house is worth, and it would leave me with a whole less money, and the strata, the body corporate, whatever, the fees were pretty high. So I mean, not nowhere near as high as well, pretty close actually to my council rates where I am now. So that would be eating away into my my profits quite a lot going forwards. But yeah, I can't quite put that place down. I've had a look at a few others since, and I keep thinking about moving to Coogee. I really like it actually, and it's been a few days now since I checked that out, and I'm still thinking about it. It could be the place for me, despite it costing so much. Again, it's so close to the water, so it's a forever investment. Not that I really care. I don't intend to live forever, so I don't understand why it's so important to have such a good investment. I think it's more about selling up so that I can be cash rich as opposed to asset rich and cash poor. So the idea is, my doctor, when I told him about it, he said, yes, do it. Sell, have a few million in the account, and just enjoy life. And I'm like, fuck yeah. I just can't imagine what that would be like, but that's where I'm going. So I don't know, maybe the Coogee apartment is it. But it's scary to rush into it, apartments, you're sharing walls with people. I'm fucking loud especially when I play the guitar, and I like to have my music up. I'm fucking loud, man. If there's gonna be some Karens in that apartment, I'm basically fucked. Um, and living next door to a hater, living next door to someone that hates your guts, that'll eat away at you, you know? That's bad for mental health. So yeah, I'm a bit worried about all sorts of stuff. It's very scary for me to move. Um, but I'm doing it. And on another note, I had my good mate Leslie from the writing group go through my writing piece that's going to be published before the end of the year. And he sent through a whole lot of suggestions for me and edits on the Google Drive. And man, I was so happy with his suggestions and changes. I mean, as a graphic designer, I fucking hated it when people suggested changes, and clients and fellow designers. I fucking hated it because I always liked how I did things. I was really proud of my own work. But man, this guy, his edits were so good. It reminds me of when I wrote an article for Autosalon, and Charles Carr from Autosalon, the editor at the time, edited my piece and just made it flow, and it sounded so good. And that's exactly what Leslie did. He made it flow, and he made it grammatically correct as well, and offered suggestions that would strengthen my viewpoints. And man, I implemented like 99% of the suggestions he suggested. And I'm really happy about that. It just kind of blew my mind, and I was really, I really appreciate how good he is at writing. So I think my piece is very close to being done, and I will go through it one more time, I think, over the next week or two for a final pass. And that's about it. That's all I've got to share. The only other weird thing last night, a guy who was a big fan of Australian in Front, my first big graphic design community back in 99, early 2000s. He was from Russia, moved to Australia, and he loved In Front so much, and it really helped him. And he still, to this day, thinks that he still carries all the amazing memories and experiences he had through and with us back in those days. And he's still very much a creative. He's created a VJ, like those guys who do VJ work for live shows, you know, all the visuals that happen behind electronic artists and stuff. And he created a VJ community. It's gone international, and he's had a huge success with it. He just reached out from nowhere when I was talking about being banned off Instagram and Patreon, and he suggested some websites that I could check out to create my own platform and website and paywall. And he seems really in the know with the latest technology and stuff. And he was just sent me another message to say he's just wondering what happened with me and what happened with my change in creativity, and maybe that he could re-spark the artist in me and help me through suggesting different technologies and what they could do, and I could maybe create art with all these technologies that he was into. And you know, I've had messages like this before, right, from friends or whatever that have said that, you know, hey, you know, I love your old stuff better than your new stuff, or I like the old you better than the new you. And he I went AWOL and started responding to him very quickly, rapid fire, and just saying, mate, like, you know, Zen Garage, it's okay if you don't get it. You know, if you don't consider what I do as creative and art, that's fine. You know, I do, and some other people do as well, so I'm okay with that. And he accidentally phoned me, and he said, "Oh, sorry, that was pocket call." Oh, well, hey, I'm free. It was 10 o'clock at night, but I'm like, hey, I'm free if you want to talk. And surprisingly, he called me, and we spoke for an hour. And he was so happy to speak, and he could hear the energy. I mean, the old me, or what he was worried about and concerned about me being down or defeated, um, is not the case. And we both had really open and passionate conversation for an hour. So again, it's easy to be misunderstood, and it's one of the worst fucking feelings in the world. I've never gotten used to the feeling of being misunderstood. But again, I don't need to prove it to anybody, prove anything to anybody. I am not at all interested in spending all of my energy inspiring other people. Um, I'm much more focused on doing what makes me and keeps me happy, right? And it's understandable. Like if he still has memories of me inspiring him so much back in the day when he was younger, and has an idea that it would be great if I was still inspiring him today, then yeah, it's just not going to happen, mate. Anyway, I've got a jet, because I've got another podcast to do with the people in the writing group. So I'm gonna cut it here. Hope everyone has a better week than what I had fucking last week and the week before. But it's good to be busy. I'm enjoying it, and I hope everyone has a great week. And I will catch you guys in the next one. See yas.